How do we react to events of our day? That's a pretty good question and one that we need to answer. This past Shabbat, I was teaching. I'm going to actually bring out some things that I did this past at Life Assembly. And I spoke these words to the people gathered there. Do not be surprised at what you see happen in the next weeks, days, weeks, and months. Little did I know that I would be sitting watching the television just a few hours later and see the events that happened and the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. This is not a political program. I don't get into that. I am going to be talking to Barry tomorrow. We are planning to do a broadcast, Foundations for Life, regarding conspiracies. There's a number of things that are said about that in Scripture. I'm going to be releasing some new thoughts for me on that, so I'll turn you over to that program if you'd like to hear that. But what should our response be to these things? What are people looking for? How should we react? I think it comes down to a very basic word for us that most people that have been around this walk for any amount of time have begun to learn this word. It is shalom. And of course, the paleo definition, it's not just peace, but the paleo definition of the letters says, may that which is producing chaos be destroyed. When we see things that are happening around us, are we entering into the same chaos as the world, or are we bringing into the situation a level of shalom? I think that those that do that are going to be those that are used or that the Father works through in these days. I spent some time yesterday. I was playing golf with some guys, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that later on. But one of the first things out of their mouths is, well, what do you think of your buddy? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, Trump, isn't he your buddy? And I said, I'm saddened by the situation, but I said, I don't get into the politics as much. And there's this idea from people out there, and I know I'm right on the edge of politics is what I'm saying, that God is a Republican. Well, newsflash, folks, he's not. He is he. And I do not, when the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, when they stand up for biblical values, I'll stand. Now, I know which party I believe stands with biblical values more. Okay, I got that. But see, my point that I'm kind of trying to get to, probably not doing a good job, is this, that this world wants to put you into a box. Do not allow anyone to put you into a box. When I say that I'm in ministry, somebody asks me, what do you do for a living? Are you retired? No. What do you do? I'm in ministry. Well, what denomination are you with? Well, they're trying to put me in a box. Politically, people are trying to put you in a box. Everything about people today, they've got to put you into a box. Stay out of boxes. Again, there's verses I'm going to get to in just a moment regarding this. So when we stay out of boxes, and I say to people, I do not adhere to Republican or Democrat, or you're an independent. No, my worldview is biblical. Everything I desire, everything in my life, to have a biblical foundation. Now, folks, when you say that, you better be willing to live that. And when you live that, you better be prepared for some interesting conversations along the way. So in all that comes this week's Torah portion of Balak. And the setting is life is good. There's prosperity in the camp. Everything's going pretty good. We've gone through 38 years of all kinds of trouble. A lot of the death is behind us, well, except for Moses. And but here we are. We're camped on the edge of the Jordan River. We can see the promises on the horizon. So it's all good. We're just waiting for, Moses is probably writing his farewell speech or something. We're going to have to endure that, but then we're going to go into the promised land. Everything's fine, guys. Well, understand this, that Hasatan, the enemy, the powers and authorities of darkness never take a moment off. One of the most vulnerable times, there's two times in your life that you're the most vulnerable to the enemy. Number one is when you're tired. I know that. Being on the road as I have through the years, at some point in time, you're exhausted. That is a time that I always understood I need to have my guard up more. Nothing specific. Okay, I'm not getting into specifics here. I need to have my guard up more than usual. Number two is when everything's going good. All right, the bills are paid. There's peace in the house. Nobody's arguing with each other. You got a full tank of gas and a nice meal on the table. That is probably the most vulnerable that you will ever be, because it is in that time that you put your guard down. It is in that time that the enemy will come in. There was a series of books years ago written, probably many of you read these books, by Frank Peretti, This Present Darkness, Piercing the Darkness, various ones. And these books really made such an impact on people's lives because it took the veil off. Now, I think that Peretti was using a lot of license. Okay, I got that. But in the end, it may have been more truth than what we know, that he was pulling that veil back and trying to get us to understand that the battle that we are involved in today is not a physical battle, though there are physical battles that happen. It is not a political battle, though there are political battles that happen. It is a spiritual battle. And so if it is a spiritual battle and we're trying to fight it with a political system, we're using the wrong weapons. If it is a spiritual battle and we're trying to fight it with if it is a spiritual battle, we're trying to fight it with a physical weapon or a physical battle, we've brought the wrong weapons to the table. This is the old adage of bringing a knife to a gunfight. You lost already because you brought the wrong weapons. And unless we understand, the words of Shaul, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are spiritual in nature. I'm hoping that Barry and I will get to this in coming weeks on Life on Purpose. But we are in the midst of a battle. And as we, I believe, are there at the edge, as it would be, of the Yarden, the kingdom, it looks like from Scripture, the way that I read it, the way that I watch what is happening around us, it appears that the kingdom is just like over the river. It is so close that sometimes you feel, if you're watching, sometimes you feel that you can actually see it in the distance, see it on the horizon, and that puts us in the same place here as the Hebrews. They don't know. This Torah portion is so fascinating because most of it, from chapter 22, verse 2, chapter 23, 24, Israel, Moses himself, oblivious to what is happening behind the scenes. How much is happening? It brings me to the question. How much is happening around us that we are oblivious to? Probably if we were to answer that, have that question answered, it would frighten all of us. The things that are going on around us. But the truth and the comfort is this, that though there is a war raging around us, he is there in the midst. Because when the story of Balak and Balaam begin, Balaam comes to Balak. And, we all, the first thing that comes to your mind probably is the donkey and Balak not listening and all of those things. And, we could go to a lot of places like that of listen in this world, even if the person acts like a donkey. I'll put that in nice terms. Even if a person acts like a donkey, they can speak into your life. And Balaam should have done that. But though he didn't, he goes through because he is a prophet for hire. He is basically a prostitute in a ministry sense, in a prophecy, a prophet sense. He is a prostitute. He's in it for the money. And even though he is trying desperately, because of where the Hebrews are and the life that they are living at the moment, the protection of the Almighty overrides the evil that is around them. So Balaam gets up to prophesy over the people. He wants to curse them, but, who's the donkey here? He wants to curse the Hebrews, but instead speaks a blessing. And I want to just bring a couple of verses out of these words that he spoke and then go to something different. First of all, it says in chapter 23, starting in verse 9, "From the top of the rocks I see them. From the hills I behold them. Yes, a people who will dwell alone and not think of itself as one of the nations." Now, the translation here, alone, is, I do not believe is the best word in English, but would be better translated as separated. It is the idea of kadosh, set apart. Those who have, through the years, believed that they should go to the mountaintops, go to the caves, and we're just going to have a monastery or our own little bunker here. That is not what this verse is talking about. It is talking about that we must be separated. We must be separate. That it says, and not think of itself as one of the nations. The word there, think, is it could be translated as counted as one of the nations. Let me bring it into something that is we all probably deal with, of wanting to be one of the guys, wanting to fit in. Okay, I as you know, I play golf with a bunch of guys, and they at times they apologize. At times they just, I've had someone look at me and go, "I don't know how you put up with us." But see, I'm not going to be one of them. I can be friends. I can be a counselor at times. That's a humbling place. I can be someone that when people come, when people have something in their life, they say, "Hey, Mike, would you pray for this person for me, for my wife, for whoever it is?" That is an honoring place, a place of honor, and that people see you as someone that they would go to. Why? Because you haven't become one of them. Now, let's face it, we all want to fit in, right? Especially those of us that may have, You may have some issues of in your own personality. You grew up in being separated, being picked on, being bullied, all of that kind of stuff. We want to fit in. What is the problem in Israel today? Israel is a land. The land of Israel, and the politicians that are there is we just want to be like the nations. It was I think it was Rabin. Please don't quote me on that, but he said, yeah, I think it was Rabin. He said we just want to be like all the other nations, and it was right after that he was assassinated. Israel, you and I, those that are followers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we are not called to be one of the guys or one of the girls. We are called to be separated. Not alone, even though sometimes when you're separated, you're going to feel alone. But until the point that you become comfortable being separated, you can embrace being separate. You can embrace when people throw parties and you're not invited. You can embrace when your siblings don't add you to the email or text threads. You can embrace when you hear about an event and nobody invited you. You embrace it. And you see that as a compliment. That they don't see you as one of the guys, as one of the girls. Because they don't bother. They don't bother because they know that you're going to give them is convicting to them. That is the place that we should strive for in life. Now, the other verse I want to bring out is one that has always fascinated me. And it is in chapter 24. I'm going to start in verse 3. This is the speech of Balaam, the son of Beor, the speech of a man whose eyes have been opened, the speech of him who hears Elohim's words, who sees what Shaddai sees, who has fallen yet has open eyes. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your encampments, Israel. They spread out like valleys, like gardens by the riverside, like succulent aloes planted by Adonai, like cedar trees next to the water. Beautiful words spoken by a backslid, we could call him, I'll be nice, a backslid prophet, speaking the words. As he said, I look down. I look down upon your tents. And this is what the prophetic word. So these words are, it is simply, this is the words of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh that are spoken through a different donkey. He spoke through a donkey, and now he speaks through another one. Just a donkey of a different kind. And his name is Balaam. And it says, how lovely are your tents. Now, the word lovely, King James says goodly. How lovely are your tents. The word there is, I just give you the basic meaning of, is the idea that he has surrounded the camp. The Almighty has surrounded them. He is in the midst. He is inhabiting. He is connected to the camp. Now, something I brought out at Life Assembly I want to go into a little bit is this idea that when the Almighty looks upon Israel, he did not look at the tabernacle. He looked from the tabernacle. Now think of that, okay? He was not looking at the tabernacle. He was looking from the tabernacle. So the people would be looking to the tabernacle, the Mishkan. They would be looking to the glory, the Shekinah of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. But the Shekinah was looking to them. And what was he saying? How lovely are your tents. And this begs a question. If he was to speak words through your neighbor, the neighbor that we've had in the past, the neighbor that is, their language is such that when they come out in their backyard, you bring the pets in. Nothing you can do about it. But, they're just, that's who they are. And your neighbor looks at you and says, there's something about your home that just is beautiful. Those are words of the Almighty being spoken. What would he say about you? What would he say about your home? Would he say how lovely it is? How I love to be a part of this? Or would he say, I'm kind of tired of standing outside knocking and nobody is letting me in? How lovely are your tents, O Jacob. And so I want to bring that in and to something that most of us are familiar with and go through a brief teaching. I did more of this, and I might do this next month on my monthly message, the entirety. But it brings us to the concept of the mezuzah. It's something I saw this past Shabbat that excited me, and I can't get it out of my mind. The mezuzah. The mezuzah is something that people all love to. You got your prayer shawl and your zitzit on your belt, and you got the shofars blasting. But where is the mezuzah? And what is it all about anyway? Is it just that little thing that we put on the door that the neighbor asks us about? I don't know, it's some Jewish thing we do, or is it something we really understand? And remember that the concept of Na'aseh v'nishma is through doing we will understand. And I got face to face with that this past Shabbat when after 25 years of teaching on the mezuzah, I saw something I'd never seen before, and I want to share it with you. I don't have a mezuzah with me. They're all over the house. But I did have a demo mezuzah that I've carried around with me. It was in my desk. If somebody needed one, I gave it to them. So I don't have one. What I do have is one of the scrolls. Now, do you know what's on the scroll? If you have a mezuzah on your door, and you should, rabbinically, we're to put a mezuzah on every door except for the restroom. And okay, well, you can make a pretty good joke out of that one. But it says, the scripture says in Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 6, verses 4 through 9, you were to place it on your doorpost and on your gates. The word mezuzah literally means a conspicuous post. Okay? So what is the mezuzah? Is the mezuzah the little box? Is it the scripture? Is it the post? And the answer is yes. It is actually all the above coming together, and how we do that in our day has evolved. I know people that have built their homes, built their houses, and gone around and have written the scriptures on the doorposts, on the 2x4s, and the rafters all over the place. It's amazing. I think somebody coming in later on remodeling would be going, "What in the world is all this?" But it is the focus of it is the scriptures. So do we know what is on this? Well, there's two sets of scriptures. Number one is the Shema, Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. And we understand that one. That's something I recite twice a day. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. It is the revelation of who he is. The other set of scriptures that's on here, though, is from Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 13 through 21. It is the Vahaya. I might have pronounced that wrong. But what is the Vahaya? And I'll let you go back and read these words on your own. But it is the expression of the assurance of blessing to those who will follow the precepts of the scripture. And the verse also warns of judgment and retribution to those who will disobey, willingly disobey those verses. So don't buy a mezuzah from Israel and, bring it home if you have not embraced the Torah. If you are, I doubt if most anybody would be listening to me. If you have a mezuzah on your door and you're bringing home pork chops, it would probably be a good idea to take the mezuzah off the door until you get your obedience in line. Because every time you bring something, and I could go on to other things of what is allowed through over our threshold, could I not? What we allow in our house through our computers, movies, programs, all of those things. Now, I got it. We're not going to be perfect. There's going to be things we're going to be like, wait a minute, I didn't see that. Okay, that's not willingly. But if you put a mezuzah on your door and then willingly deafen your ear, hear, O Israel, hear and hear intelligently. If we willingly deafen our ear to the convicting voice of the Spirit, it's like, whatever, I'm going to do what I want to do. That mezuzah is on your door as a witness against you when judgment comes to your house. And so the way that it has evolved through the years is the little box. It's made of stone. I've got Jerusalem stone, wood, plastic. There's all kinds. You go to Israel and there's countless numbers of mezuzahs. But in order for a mezuzah to be kosher, to be accepted, rabbinically accepted, I'm not looking for rabbinic acceptance in what I'm doing, but when rabbinic teachers have come out with things that have studied and come to a place of something that I think is in line with Scripture and brings out the message in a greater way, I'm going to go with it. And with the mezuzah, I'm going to go with it. Because every mezuzah has in it the Scriptures, and has on it the sheen, the three-prong letter in Hebrew, the sheen. Now, if you've listened to me for a long time, you've been to Israel with me, you understand that the sheen is the valleys in Jerusalem, the Kidron, the Gehenna Valley, the Tyropian Valley. They actually form a sheen, and you can look back at when Abram brought Isaac to the mountain. He looked at at his servants and said, "You guys stay here. We don't need you anymore. Me and the boy are going to go worship. We'll return." Why? Because he saw the sheen. And it is about Shaddai, El Shaddai. The sheen is representing that name of El Shaddai. Now, to take that word apart a little bit, El is Aleph Lamed, which is the strength of the king. Okay, Aleph, the ox, Lamed, the king or the shepherd's staff. So is the strength of the king. Shaddai, Shin Dalet Yod, is actually two words that are made up together. One is Shad, Shin Dalet, which is, the literal meaning of Shad is breast. Dai, what is the word dai? It is, at Passover, there's a song, Daenu. It would have been enough. And so if we look at this in a physical term, when a woman gives birth and is is nurturing, feeding that baby, the mother's milk from her breast has literally everything that the baby needs for life. Actually, and not to get too technical here, because I don't want to, but that mother's milk actually changes along the way in nutrients, is my understanding. But the point is that everything that baby needs is in that mother's milk. Now, think about this. When it is said that the disciple that Yeshua loved, we believe that to be Yochanan, at the last meal that they had together, okay, is that a Passover meal or, okay, I'm not going there, but what was he doing? He was laying his head upon the chest of Yeshua. What was he doing? He was literally, he was a picture of this word El Shaddai, that the strength of the king had become his complete sufficiency. Shaul would say, I've learned to be content in all things. That's the idea of Shaddai. Now, to take it one step further, Shin Dalet Yod is an acronym. It is the words, the Hebrew words Shomer, Daltot, Israel. Shomer, Daltot, Israel, which has the literal English meaning would be this: the guardian of the doors of Israel. So when we place a mezuzah upon our doorposts and upon our gates, what are we doing? As long as our lives are lining up with the words, and when we recite, as someone reminded us all on this past Shabbat, the Shema is not a prayer. It is a declaration. One step further. If you were to be able to go into that spiritual realm that Balaam and Balak were prophesying of and revealing, and you said the words, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, the heavenly and demonic response would be, duh. Because, see, in the spiritual realm, the Shema is a given. It's truth. It's emet. There's nothing surprising about those words in the spiritual realm. It is in this physical realm. So I love to think that twice a day, at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, when my phone alarm goes off and I stop wherever I am, whether I'm on a golf course or I'm in Lowe's or I'm in Walmart or, wherever, Atlanta Airport, of all places, and I say, maybe quietly, but I do say, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Blessed be his name, his glorious kingdom forever and ever. What am I doing? I'm bringing agreement from the spiritual realm into this earthly realm. Now, that in itself is something that we should be thinking about. Are we on a daily basis doing that? So when you and I are not sitting in a restaurant on Shabbat, because it's Shabbat, when we're not in line at Walmart on Shabbat because it's just Shabbat, when we are not ordering the pork chops, buying the pork chops, bringing them in, I'm picking on pork chops today, bringing them through our door, when we are preparing for Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and when we're doing all these things, what are we doing? We are bringing the truth of the spiritual realm into the physical realm. What a job. What a position we have in life. What an honor we have in life is how we should be looking at that. But one last thing, and this is the one that really got to me this week. I'd never seen this before. 25 years I've been teaching on the mezuzah. I've never seen this. And I wish I had my mezuzah to show you this on camera. But imagine, think for a moment, this box. Okay, this little box of wood, of plastic, of stone, of whatever. It is empty. Kind of like us. I'm not there yet. I'm going to throw in one more thing. Kind of like us. We come into this world, and because of the fall, we're empty. But every one of us has the sheen written upon us. If you look into the DNA, our DNA, and I don't understand this one, but I got it. The DNA actually of our being has the letters of Yud He Vav He in it. So every single person breathing today has on them, the fingerprint of the Almighty, of El Shaddai. But yet we're empty. And people will go through life trying to fill a void. I teach it like this, that you and I come into this world with a God, a Yud He Vav He, a creator-shaped void. And what do? We try to fill it with all kinds of things. With money, with power, with possessions, with, the list goes on and on and on. And you can shove something in there. It's kind of like the square peg in the round hole, or the jigsaw puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, but it's going to fit. Eventually, you're like, it doesn't fit. I thought it fit, but it doesn't fit. And so, a secret of life that most people will miss in life is not understanding the shape of the void that is in us. We understand that can only be filled by Him because it is formed for Him, which is His Word. Imagine me holding a mezuzah. Here's the gospel right here, is taking the Word and putting it in the box. That's the gospel. That we, each of us, that empty box, we are filled with His Word, with His redemption, with His Messiah. We are returned to the garden in a level of speaking. And then we are attached to a conspicuous post. It is through the attachment of the conspicuous post that we are able to have His Word inside of us. Okay, that's us. But let's look at something different. In the book of John, Yochanan, we turn over to that. I can quote it by without, but I'm just going to, sometimes though you can quote a verse or scripture, a few scriptures, sometimes you shouldn't. You should just read them. Not just look at them, but actually read them. In the beginning was the Devar, the Torah, the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things came to be through Him, and without Him nothing made had being. In Him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not suppressed it. Going down to verse 14. The Word became a human being and lived with us, and we saw His Shekinah, His glory. I want you to think about, get a picture of this, of Yeshua, an empty box. He is the living Word. It's what the Scripture teaches, that He is the living Word. And the Word, let me take a little bit of license. The Word entered into flesh and became a human being, which makes Him 100% man, 100% Yud-He-Vav-He, and takes nothing away from the Scripture of Adonai Echad, the plurality of a singular. The Word became flesh. The Word entered into flesh and dwelt among us, but was then placed upon a conspicuous post, a stake, an execution stake. Most would term it as a cross, and gave His life for us. So the mezuzah is a picture. Guys, I've never seen this until last Shabbat. The mezuzah is a picture of Yeshua upon an execution stake, shedding His blood for each of us. What an amazing picture that is. How I've never seen that, I don't know. He became the mezuzah, placed upon a stake for you and I. I hope that gives you more meaning to, maybe you want to take some time and go to your door and just stare at that mezuzah and consider what the true meaning is. Now, I need to get to the end of this. Though He surrounds us, though He inhabits us, though we may be living at a place of how lovely is your, and let's rephrase that, how lovely is your home? How lovely are your homes, O Jacob? I started out last Shabbat by saying that our homes, our congregations, are only as strong as our weakest family in them. Israel as a people are only as strong as the weakest family within. So we should be doing everything we can to strengthen our homes, strengthen our families, not our houses. Our house is brick and mortar. It's wood. It's material items. You can't buy a home. You can only buy a house. How lovely! We played yesterday at a course that they're multi-million-dollar houses, and these guys that I'm with were some of them were like, wow. And I'm thinking, I wonder what the home is. Because I would imagine, just knowing people, that there's a lot of multi-million-dollar houses on that course that I was looking at, but the home was poverty. Our house can be filled with poverty, no matter how big and how impressive it is on the outside. If the inside is not godly, if He is not looking at it and say how lovely it is a poverty. It is poverty in a spiritual realm. Though He may surround it, though He may be speaking beautiful words, it is still our responsibility. It is still our responsibility to do our part in protecting. For see, when the words of Balaam came forth and could not affect the encampment of the Hebrews, well, let's try a different approach. and he sent in the women of Moab. It says in verse 7, I'm not going to get into the details of this, of the whole ordeal that's going on, but it says, when Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, saw it, he got up from the middle of the crowd, took a spear in his hand, pursued the man right into the inner part of the tent, where he thrust the spear through both of them, the man from Israel and the woman through her stomach. More in this Torah portion next week. But I find the wording here interesting. Oh, I should have closed my blinds. I find the word interesting that it says he got up. See, it is that place of prosperity, that place of everything's going good in life. That's one of those places of vulnerability. Though he surrounds us and protects us does not mean that we can take a nap. Does not mean we can be asleep. Does not mean that we don't have a job to do to guard that. Shomer, guard his commandments. Guard our relationship with him. Guard our revelation of Messiah in our lives. It is our responsibility to guard those things. Now, it says that Phinehas got up, which is the idea of everybody's sitting down. Everybody's resting. Everybody is kind of lackadaisical. Imagine a group of soldiers and everybody just, the enemy hasn't, we haven't seen anything from the enemy in days. We're just going to all rest. No. Someone stands guard. Are you willing to be the person who, no matter what everyone else is doing, you will continue to stand guard? Pinchas did this. The plague came upon the people and killed 24,000. We'll read next week where Pinchas was given a covenant of shalom, which is it is an insight into the kingdom. Those who never let their guard down, who never become one of the crowd, one of the guys, one of the girls. We just all want to be I want to belong to the club. No. I'm willing to embrace that I'll never fit in. Are you? Are you willing to embrace that you'll never fit in because you're not concerned about being one of the guys in the natural realm, but you're going to be one of the servants, one of the people that hear those words in the end. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy set before you. Enter into my kingdom. You decided to never be part of the crowd in that realm, so you will now be part of the multitude in my realm. And the one that allows us to enter into that realm is pictured on every door in Israel. Is just mind-boggling to me when I that revelation that when we look at a mezuzah, as I have on my door right there, when we look at our mezuzah, is a picture of the Messiah. Wow. Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem, God willing. See you again next week. Until then, be strong. Yivarechecha Adonai
v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom.